Hi guys, I'm Brody and welcome to my channel. I'm a new content creator making videos about the games I love and Destiny 2 is one of them. I especially like making videos on underrated and underused exotics. And thanks to Dr. Jonas, I've got a Peregrine Greaves build I did for you this week, which you can find up here. And in today's video, Saint14 Plays asked if I could make a viable endgame standard side build. So I saw this comment and the first thing I did was look at my wife and said, hold my beer. We've got an insane tanky build with not one, but two overshields, which mean we can get straight in the action and be typical Titan and deal tons of damage. Take a look. So as you can see, we're absolutely dominating in solo last sectors and solo nightfalls, being typical Titan, running around and causing chaos. Thank you guys for all the recent subscribers. It really does mean a lot to me. The channel is growing bigger and bigger every day. And I love hearing your feedback in the comments, so sound off down below. Let's jump into the build and I'll show you how it's all set up. Let's take a look at the standard sides and look at the strengths and weaknesses and how we can make up for the weaknesses. These grant an overshield when you're sprinting at full health with Seismic Strike, Hammer Strike or Shield Bash equipped and charged. Hits with these abilities recharge a portion of your melee energy. This synergizes amazing with Arc 3.0 again because we've got Amplified, we've got an overshield from Juggernaut on top of the overshield from standard sides. It all encourages high octane, fast, adrenaline rush gameplay. Now the beauty of these things is we can basically turn these into the Skullfront exotic by using a charge with light mod to give us all of our melee energy back as soon as we've used our melee energy. We'll get to that in a sec. Let's take a look at the subclass first. Going to be using Thruster because it's the quickest recharge and because we're darting around like there's no tomorrow, this is going to help us get in and out of combat quicker. Plus this works hand in hand with one of our aspects we'll get to in a minute. Seismic Strike, obviously we have to use this to take advantage of the standard side perk. And I'm using Pulse Grenade just because I like the lingering effect and it's pretty powerful. The first aspect is Knockout. I love this aspect so much. This just encourages you to play aggressive. And you can just stand there for ages just punching things because of the health regen that we get from it. With the damage buff we get from it as well, it just all folds into one and it just encourages classic Titan gameplay. And remember, I mention this every time because it's so important, the lightning infused melee that we get after breaking someone's shield or critically wounding them is classed as a powered melee. So we're going to get a ton of elemental wows from this. I can't stress how good Knockout is. And Juggernaut, just for that tanky feeling. We've got an overshield from standard sides, but this just makes us even more tanky. We can rush at any champion, any boss, and we can just take them on head on. The idea behind this build is when you see a group of enemies, you go for the strongest one first. You take out the strongest enemy, don't worry about all the other ads around. Run in there, do our weapon combo, kill the main enemy, and then you worry about the ads. You can just finish them off with your punch, get your health back through punching them, and just take all the damage, just tank it in like a Titan. Our first fragment, Spark of Resistance. Obviously we're going to be up in the enemy's faces, so we need this. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. And as a bonus, we get a plus 10 on strength. Don't really need that technically because of one of the mods we're using in a minute, but still, you know, if we get into a pinch, it's always nice to have that. Second fragment, we're using Spark of Focus. After sprinting for a short time, your class ability regeneration is increased. Now this is important because the shield that we got from Juggernaut requires full class ability energy for it to activate. When we're amplified as well, this shield blocks significantly more damage. So we've got this Juggernaut shield, which is even more powerful while we're amplified, and the standard sides overshield. We are so tanky, we can just take anything on and don't even flinch. Don't forget, the Titan's class ability regen is tied to resilience, which we've got maxed out for this build because we want to be as resilient as possible. So our class ability, the base cooldown's 30, so we can get that back even quicker, take advantage of this shield, and keep running in and doing damage. For the third fragment, we're going to use Spark of Discharge. Arc Weapon Final Blows have a chance to create an Ionic Trace. This is going to help our class ability energy get up a bit quicker. It's also going to help our grenades recharge a bit quicker too. The first mod we need to talk about is called Heavy Handed. When charged with light, regain half your melee energy when you use a charge melee ability, consuming 1 stack of charge with light. So one of the standard side perk was that hits with the melee abilities recharge a portion of your melee energy. What that means is it actually gives you half of your melee energy back. So that, teamed up with heavy handed, you instantly get all of your melee energy back. This basically gives us the Skull Front exotic perk, plus the overshield. So this is brilliant. Also, the second perk on here is great. While surrounded by multiple combatants, defeating a combatant with a fusion rifle, shotgun, sidearm or submachine gun adds ammo for that weapon to your reserves. We're using a Risk Runner and we're using a shotgun, so that perfectly synergizes with our build. We're going to be running double harmonic siphon, rapid weapon final blows with damage matching your subclass type, creating Orb of Power. We'll take advantage of Orbs of Power later, so we want to create as much of those as we can. One of the weaknesses of the standard side is it doesn't really have a damage buff. We're going to make up for that with our mods, and this is the first one. Lucent Blade. While charged with light, dealing damage with a sword gives you a bonus sword damage for 5 seconds, consuming 1 stack of charge with light. Now this gives you a 35% increase damage with your sword, which is huge. And then obviously whatever mod you've got on your sword as well. So mine's got a Vorpal weapon, which puts another 10% damage increase onto champions and bosses, plus another 7% damage increase because of boss spec. But I also find half truths really good with Unguard. Quick attacks immediately after swapping to this sword do additional damage. And that's 30% damage for 1.5 seconds. We're also going to be using Focusing Strike, grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a melee. Obviously we're going to be meleeing all the time. We've constantly got Seismic Strike ready to use, and we're using Knockout, which is encouraging us to melee with our Lightning Strike melee because we're doing more damage and getting more health back. Also using Momentum Transfer. Causing damage with a grenade reduces your melee cooldown. Not really necessary that, but if we get to a point where we've got no melee energy, that's always nice. Now, on the chest piece, this is how we're going to become charged with light. Elemental Charge. Become charged with light by picking up an elemental wow. If the elemental wow's element type matches your subclass, you gain 2 stacks of charge with light. We're going to be making elemental wows by using Melee Wow Maker. Powered melee combatant final blow spawns elemental wows matching your subclass energy type. We're going to always have Seismic Strike ready to go, which is going to create an elemental wow. Picking up that elemental wow is going to make us charge with light. So we can repeat the cycle, use heavy handed again, to get another charge melee ability, and then that's going to buff our sword because of Lucent Blade. I'll go over the gameplay loop in a minute. Let's take a look at the rest of the mods. The last one we use on our mark is called Wall of Irons. Picking up an Arc Elemental Wow causes your next melee to deal increased damage. This is a 30% increased damage. This is going to make Seismic Strike and all our other melee abilities hit harder. I've also got Surge Detonators. Arc Grenades disrupt combatants, stunning them, delaying ability regeneration, and lowering combatants' damage output. And Outreach. Reduce melee cooldown when using your class ability. This is great if we get into a pinch. If we've used all our charge with light stacks and heavy handed doesn't proc, we've got the low cooldown of our class ability, so we can just proc that just to dart forward a little bit and get our melee energy back again. Also, the Orbs of Power that we're making are going to come in handy to proc Insulation and Better Already. So with Insulation, reduce class ability cooldown each time you pick up an Orb of Power, and Better Already, your health begins to regenerate immediately after picking up an Orb of Power. Better Already is a fantastic survival mod. So the minute we run over an orb, our health begins to regenerate, and while at full health we're going to get our overshield from the standard sides. I've also got Bad Amplitude on the Titan mark. Damaging a champion with an arc ability causes the champion to become jolted. Using Wastelander Shotgun, mainly for 1-2 punch. Hitting an enemy with every pellet in the shot increases melee damage for a short duration. And that melee damage increase is 200% to a normal enemy or 350% to champions or bosses. So that, stacked with Wall of Ions, is going to cause our melee to do a ton of damage. I'm also rocking Lead from Gold on here because we're going to be using this shotgun a lot, so we always want ammo for it. Also got Boss Spec on here just to do that extra bit of damage to champions. Risk Runner is what we're going to be using to mainly clear out ads, get Ionic Traces to help our ability regen. Now on the sword, just basically use whatever damage thing you've got really, because this is what I'm going to be using to finish off the champions, using Lucent Blade. Like I said, I've got a Vorpal weapon on mine and Boss Spec. Vorpal weapon does an extra 10% damage to bosses and champions, and then Boss Spec's another 7%, and that's on top of the 35% damage we're getting from Lucent Blade. So I'll show you some clips of the gameplay loop, but the idea is run in with your Seismic Strike, pick up an Elemental a WAL. That WAL is going to make you become charged with light times 2. It's also going to make your next melee hit 30% harder. So now you've got 2 stacks of charge with light. Run full speed at the biggest enemy you see. You've got an overshield from the standard sides and you've got an overshield from Juggernaut. You want to slide, shoot your shotgun to activate 1-2 punch at the enemy, hit them with your seismic strike, and then whip out your sword and finish them off. Once you nail this combo, it's absolutely lethal. There's so many little damage buffs going on here, and to be honest, you could just run around smacking everything with your melee. The biggest hurdle you got to get across is just getting the confidence just to run forward and tank at the champions and the bosses. Trust me, you can do it. You're a titan. Don't be scared. Just run in there. You've got 2 massive overshields. Seismic Strike's going to blind the enemy. You're going to get another Seismic Strike back straight away, plus 30% damage buff, 1-2 punch, hit him with your sword, and you'll be home in time for dinner. That's the build, guys. I hope you liked it. It's super fun to use, and it really makes the standard side shine. Now, I'm not going to be Twitch streaming this weekend, but next week I'm going to be farming Dares of Eternity to try and get the red box Wastelander shotgun so I can craft my god roll, and also do the new season activity to try and get red box weapons there so I can craft a god roll of the sidearm. So if anybody wants to come and join in next Sunday, just come and say hi in the chat and we can grind it out together. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for staying to the end. I do really appreciate all your support and all the kind comments. I've got loads of other build ideas coming up, and don't worry, hunters and warlocks, I haven't forgotten about you. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.